Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asad Yaqub and I'm from Lahore, Pakistan, and I teach IELTS here in Lahore, and I also teach IELTS online all over the world. Once again, I welcome you all to my IELTS workshop, and the topic is understanding and teaching IELTS, and for that the topic which I'm going to discuss today with you, that is grammatical range and accuracy. And I'm going to tell you how to improve your grammatical range and what is accuracy. I mean, this is one of the criterias, and this is equal to 25% of your IELTS test. And this is checked in speaking as well as in writing module. Grammatical range and accuracy means whatever you are writing or whatever you speak, that is correct. And then the structures you are using or the structures you are making, they are also correct. So now let's take a start. Before I continue, I would like to pay a sincere thank to AEO Lahore. We call it IDP or AEO Lahore. They conducted IELTS training session for IELTS trainers, and luckily I also attended that session as a participant, and there I got this lovely handout, and I'm going to make this video which is going to be based on this handout. So once again, thank you very much AEO Lahore, Australian Education Office, or IDP Lahore, and this workshop is going to be very much helpful because I'm going to teach you tenses, I'm going to teach you structures, I'm going to teach you 3 types of sentences that can increase your bench score. So let's take a start. First of all, we are going to learn how to develop range and accuracy. Range means structures and accuracy means these structures are correct grammatically and logically and all that. So mainly there are 3 type of sentences which you must learn, and these 3 type of sentences are simple, compound and complex. So you need to improve your knowledge on simple sentences, compound sentences and complex sentences, and by the way, I'm going to teach you these 3 type of sentences right now. Anyways, a common weakness in writing is the lack of varied sentences. Now what is varied sentences? Varied sentences means you are using simple sentences, you are using compound sentences, and you are using complex sentences. That's what we call a variety. So if you just learn these 3 type of sentences, you can easily get good bands. And you know, in writing, students are always getting low bands. In reading and in writing, the students are getting low band, and the reason is they are just writing simple sentences, or there are a lot of mistakes, there is no accuracy. So if they don't achieve accuracy, they get low bands for that. Anyways, so becoming aware of 3 general type of sentences, that is simple, compound and complex, can help you vary the sentences in your writing. Hence you will be able to get your required bench score. If you attend this workshop very carefully and you follow all the instructions which I am giving you right now, you can end up getting a very good bench score. Let's take a start with simple sentences. Now simple sentences are those which present one simple idea. You might have heard that in English sentence we've got subject, verb, object. So a simple sentence has got subject, verb and object. A simple sentence has the most basic elements that make it a sentence, and these elements are a subject, a verb and a completed thought. That's what we call object as well, a completed thought. A simple sentence can also be referred to as an independent clause. Now there are 2 type of clauses in English sentences. One is independent clause, one is dependent clause. Dependent clause means a sentence that depends on the main clause or independent clause. Without that, dependent clause does not convey any logical meaning. So that is why there must be an independent clause and then a dependent clause. But anyways, whenever you make simple sentences, there is only one clause in simple sentences, and that is independent clause. So a simple sentence can also be referred to as an independent clause. It is referred to as independent because it can also stand by itself as a complete sentence, or it presents a simple and complete idea. I give you some examples of simple sentences. For example, Joe waited for the train. Now see, this is independent sentence, this is simple sentence, and you can make some more sentences like that. Joe waited for the train. Joe is subject, waited is actually verb. The train was late. In this sentence, the train is subject, was is verb. Number 3, Mary and Samantha took the bus. Mary and Samantha took the bus. Now in this sentence, Mary and Samantha, that is a compound subject, and took is verb, and then we've got bus, you may call it object as well. Next, I looked for Mary and Samantha at the bus station. I looked for Mary and Samantha. Now I is subject, looked is verb, Mary and Samantha, that is a compound object at the bus station. So direct object and indirect object. Okay, number 5, Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station early but waited until noon for the bus. Now Mary and Samantha, that is compound subject, arrived and waited, that is compound verb. When two verbs come together with and, we call it compound verb. So Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station early but waited until noon for the bus. So these were some simple sentences, and you need to make more sentences like that so that you achieve accuracy. Remember one thing, there are two things. One is grammatical range and one is accuracy. So you should have both things, grammatical range as well as accuracy. Now let's go on. There is a tip. If you use many simple sentences in an essay, you should consider revising some of the sentences and into compound or complex sentences. Now what you need to do, if you know how to make simple sentence, then later on you can make good compound sentences and good complex sentences, because without simple sentence you cannot make compound or complex sentence, because there you have to join 2 clauses or 3 clauses of sentences. So if you cannot make simple sentence accurately, you cannot make compound or complex sentence. That is why if you use many simple sentences in an essay, remember you should consider revising some of the sentences into compound or complex sentences. If you just use simple sentences, you will never get good bench scores, or you'll never get a higher bench score. The use of too many simple sentences can make writing choppy and can prevent the writing from flowing smoothly. Now for instance, if I have to make some sentences about camera and I say, I have a camera, it is very nice, its result is very good, I bought it recently, it is very useful, this camera is very nice, it's a very popular camera, its model is D7500 and all that. I'm not joining all these sentences, so my writing is not smooth unless I add some conjunctions, unless there is some coherence and cohesion, right? So I've got to use some cohesive devices, then it's going to be a smooth writing and it's going to go in a flow. And in order to do that, I have to make some compound sentences as well as some complex sentences. Now let's take a start with compound sentences. First I taught you simple sentences. Now we are going to go on with compound sentences. A compound sentence refers to a sentence made up of 2 independent clauses. When we join 2 independent clauses means 2 independent sentences. When we join them together, that becomes a compound sentence, and examiner will give you good bench score in writing as well as in speaking if you are using compound sentence along with simple sentence and complex sentence. Okay, so you need to give a variety to the examiner. Anyways, so a compound sentence refers to a sentence made up of 2 independent clauses for complete sentences connected to one another with a coordinating conjunction. Now, in order to learn about coordinating conjunctions, you must remember this word, and this word is very popular. We call it fanboys. Now fanboys is an acronym. With each letter of this word, fan and boys, there is a coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunctions are easy to remember if you think of the word fanboys. Fanboys, F for, A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, S for so. So all these words, actually the acronym is fanboys, and you should remember fanboys, and you should remember for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Now I'm going to give you some examples of compound sentences. Examples of compound sentences include the following. Now see, two independent clauses are going to be joined into a compound sentence. Joe waited for the train. Okay, now you need to remember one thing whenever you are making compound sentences with the help of these coordinating conjunctions. You need to do one thing before coordinating conjunction. You must write a comma. There must be a comma. Now I give you some examples of compound sentences that include the following. Joe waited for the train. This is one clause of the sentence. But the train was late. Now what you need to do, but is basically coordinating conjunction. So before but you have to write comma. Joe waited for the train, comma, but the train was late, full stop. Clear? Fanboys, you got to remember. Number two, I looked for Mary and Samantha at the bus station. One part of the sentence or one clause of the sentence is here, comma, but they arrived at the station before noon and left on the bus before I arrived. Now you can see here we've joined two sentences after that first sentence. I looked for Mary and Samantha at the bus station, comma, but they arrived at the station before noon and left on the bus before I arrived. Now over here you don't need to write any comma when you are writing and left on the bus before I arrived, right? So it's got two parts actually, rather there are three sentences. Next, Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, comma, and they left on the bus before I arrived, full stop. Fanboys, remember that. And with the help of fanboys you can make compound sentences, and you can make compound sentences in any tense, present, past or future. Let's go on. Mary and Samantha left on the bus before I arrived, comma, so, now so is from fanboys. So I did not see them at the bus station. Again, it's a good example of compound sentence. I would advise you to make at least 50 compound sentences. I mean, I taught you 4 sentences. With the help of these 4 sentences, try to write at least 50 compound sentences and try to use all the coordinating conjunctions which are in fanboys, and this is how you can practice. And don't forget, before using coordinating conjunction, there should be a comma before the conjunction with the last word of the first clause of the sentence. So compound sentences where you join two independent clauses or two complete sentences, you join them, that is what we call compound sentence. Understand? Clear? Okay, well done, very good. Now let's go on. This time we are going to learn about complex sentences. A complex sentence is made up of an independent clause. There is one independent clause in complex sentence and one or more dependent clauses. Now dependent clauses are incomplete unless we have independent clause. Those independent clauses, they actually explain further the idea which is given in the independent clause, right? So in complex sentence there are dependent clauses, right? Whereas in compound sentence there are two independent clauses and we join them together. Anyways, a complex sentence is made up of an independent clause and one or more dependent clauses connected to it. A dependent clause is similar to an independent clause. Now dependent clause is also similar to independent clause. Okay, that's right. Or complete sentence. Alright, either it can be similar to to independent clause, or it can be a complete sentence as well. So what I said before, that's not right. It can be a complete sentence as well, but it lacks one of the elements that would make it a complete sentence. Maybe subject. At times it lacks the subject, or it lacks something that doesn't allow the dependent clause to become a complete sentence. Don't worry, I give you the examples. Now let's have some examples of dependent clauses. It includes the following. Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon. Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon. This is dependent clause. Before this, there must be an independent clause, and both of them joined with the help of because, that will become a complex sentence. Clear? Good. Okay, while he waited at the train station, this is also a dependent clause. Now, it's not clear. While he waited at the train station, something happened. While he waited at the train station. So, there must be independent clause or independent sentence, and then this dependent sentence as well. After they left on the bus. Now, after they left on the bus, there should be something. This is a dependent clause. This sentence depends on another sentence. Then we will understand what does it mean. After they left on the bus. Dependent clauses such as those above cannot stand alone as a sentence. So, dependent clauses are not a sentence. They don't have one clear meaning. We don't understand. There is something missing. But they can be added to an independent clause to form a complex sentence. So far so good. I'm trying to explain things in a very simple way. Now, I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to teach you some subordinating conjunctions. When we were talking about compound sentence, there I taught you some coordinating conjunctions, but now I'm teaching you some subordinating conjunctions. Dependent clauses begin with subordinating conjunctions. We have some examples of subordinating conjunctions. You must learn them and use them, and believe me guys, if you just learn these many subordinating conjunctions, they are more than enough. Coordinating conjunctions with fanboys, that's more than enough. You don't need to learn more, okay? If you just learn this and you learn to use this accurately. Grammatical range plus accuracy, 25 marks, 25%. So grammatical range plus accuracy means variety of grammar, and then that grammar should be accurate. This is what examiners want, and believe me, if you attend this workshop, if you practice these sentences, you can achieve 100%, out of 25%, you can achieve 25% in grammatical range and accuracy. Let's go on. I'm enjoying making this video actually. Are you enjoying learning? Good. And this joy is important. This joy is an important part of your IELTS preparation. Okay, I'm not going to be emotional anymore now. Let's learn some subordinating conjunctions. After, although, as, because, before, even though, if, since, though, unless, until, when, whenever, whereas, wherever, while. Okay, a complex sentence joins an independent clause with one or more dependent clauses. One or more. There can be two dependent clauses as well, and you will join them with the help of these subordinating conjunctions, and then you will achieve coherence and cohesion as well. Magic. Let's kill two birds with one stone. Okay. The dependent clauses can go first in the sentence followed by the independent clause as in the following. So I'll just give you some examples that dependent clause can come first or it can come after the independent clause as well. Tip: when the dependent clause comes first, a comma should be used to separate the two clauses. If dependent clause comes first and independent clause comes later, after dependent clause there should be a comma to separate it from the rest of the sentence. I give you some examples, don't worry. Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, dependent clause. Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon. There should be a comma so that we separate dependent clause in a complex sentence. Now what is next? I did not see them at the station. I did not see at the station is independent clause. So independent clause can come first or it can come after at the end as well. But if it comes next, then the dependent clause will have a comma. I know it's a bit complicated, but through sentences you will understand everything. Let's have another one. While he waited at the train station, comma, dependent clause. While he waited at the train station, comma, Joe realized that the train was late, independent clause. Joe realized that the train was late. So independent clause comes later here. That is why dependent clause is first, so we are using comma. Next, number 3. After they left on the bus, this is a dependent clause. After they left on the bus, comma, Mary and Samantha realized that Joe was waiting at the train station. Clear? So this is a very good example of complex sentence, and in complex sentence you need to learn subordinating conjunctions. You can Google subordinating conjunctions as well. Now let me tell you, you need to learn simple sentences, learn all the 12 tenses, and there you can learn simple sentences. Then you use those simple sentences and you have to learn compound sentences. In compound sentences, you have to use coordinating conjunctions, and you can Google some more coordinating conjunctions as well and use them, and don't forget fanboys. Then we have complex sentence. For complex sentence, you need to use subordinating conjunctions. Go to Google, download a list of subordinating conjunctions, and you can make wonderful complex sentences. If your essay, if your report, if your letter has got all the things like simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences, like if your letter, report, and essay have simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences, believe me, nobody can stop you from getting good bench score. Okay, now let's go on. By the way, this handout is Cambridge handout from where I'm making this video for you, and once again I'm thanking AEO Lahore or IDP Lahore actually. Now let's go on. Conversely, the independent clauses can go first in the sentence. Independent clauses can go first in the sentence. I'll give you some examples. Followed by the dependent clause as in the following. Now let's see. First we use independent clause, then we use dependent clause. The examples which I gave you before, there we use dependent clause first and then independent clause. Dependent means that depends, and independent means the sentence that doesn't depend on any other sentence. It's very simple. Okay, when the independent clause comes first, a comma should not be used to separate the two clauses. I'm teaching you the rules of comma as well. So when the independent clause comes first, a comma should not be used to separate two sentences. Now I give you some examples, and in these examples, independent clause or independent sentence or independent part will come first, then subordinating conjunction, and then dependent clause. I did not see them at the station because, now because we are using because, that's why there is no need for any comma at all. I did not see them at the station because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon. Clear? Independent clause, because, and then dependent clause, and this is a compound sentence. Let's go on. Joe realized that the train was late while he waited at the train station. Joe realized the train was late. Now that is independent clause. While he waited at the train station, that is dependent clause. Mary and Samantha realized that Joe was waiting at the train station. Independent clause. After they left on the bus. Now after they left on the bus, then they realized, Mary and Samantha realized that Joe was waiting at the train station. Is that clear? If we use independent clause first, then there is no need for comma and you will use subordinating conjunctions. If you use dependent clause first, then you need comma to separate that part, and then you can write the other part. Both ways I've given you examples. I've given you 3 examples, and I request you to make 10 sentences on your own with each example. So total, I've just given you 6 sentences. You have to convert them into 60 sentences, and this is how you can achieve accuracy through practice. Let's go on. Complex sentences are often more effective than compound sentences because a complex sentence indicates clearer and more specific relationships between the main parts of the sentence. So that is why try to use compound sentences, but try to use complex sentences more and more. You can use few simple sentences as well, but I would advise you that you should use complex and compound, but your first preference should be compound, and the first preference should be complex and then compound. That's confusing me as well. Okay, beginning sentences with and or because. Sometimes some students, they start their sentence with the and or with because, but let me tell you, you should avoid beginning a sentence with and or but. I mean, in your speaking and in your writing, do not start a sentence with and, with because, with but. So you should not start any sentence with these 3 words or the other coordinating conjunctions. So do not start your sentence with any other coordinating conjunction that joins two sentences. Coordinating conjunctions are the same like fanboys, which I taught you. These words are used to join together parts of a sentence, not to begin a new sentence. So that's why and, because, but should be avoided in the beginning of the sentence. Now, there is nothing wrong with beginning a sentence with because as long as the sentence is complete. If the sentence is complete one, then you can start it with because. I give you an example. This is an exception, by the way. Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, comma, right? So this is a dependent clause. Because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, I did not see them at the station. I did not see them at the station. Now here you can use because in the beginning, because is actually this sentence is a complete sentence. It does not give the cause of something. It's a complete sentence. So there you can use it. So far so good. Yeah, these IELTS writing workshops are becoming popular because here you attend a complete lecture and you understand the things. Now, I'm going to tell you how to develop range and accuracy. There are 2 things. Grammatical range means variety of sentences. That's what I taught you. And accuracy, these sentences should be correct. So grammar, get to know your English tenses. That's very, very important. Learn all 12 tenses and make some sentences with all the 12 tenses. There is no grammar test in the IELTS, but grammatical range and accuracy is an assessment criterion that makes up 25%. That makes up 25% of your writing and speaking scores. Writing and speaking, for both we need grammatical range and accuracy. A good knowledge of grammar is also very important in the reading and listening tests, since it will help you properly understand and answer the questions. Now let's see. We'll be learning the 3 tenses, the present, the past and the future. Fill in the missing spaces in the table. We'll do that together. The first line has been completed for you as an example. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Alright. For example, past simple. Now first we are going to learn past simple, then past continuous and all that. Past simple. Remember, we use past simple for completed actions. For example, I had my breakfast. Past simple, completed action. I reached my college. Simple sentence and completed action. And we also use it for past habits. Like I say, I used to drive very fast. It's a past habit. I used to go to school. It's a past habit. I used to speak English. It's a past sentence or it's a past habit. So for past habit, we use past simple tense, and past simple tense means second form of the verb. The price of bananas rose to $3.24 in June. Now this type of sentence you can use in your report writing. The price of bananas rose. Rose is the second form of rise. The price of bananas rose to $3.24 in June. Now let's learn past continuous. We also call it past progressive. Past actions at a particular time. We use it for past actions, or we use it for a continuous action in the past, or we use it for an action in progress in the past. For example, if I say, I was sleeping, she was waiting for me, he was watching television, you were crying, you were practicing IELTS, okay, something like that. So I was just leaving when I got a phone call. I was just leaving when I got a phone call. This is a complex sentence. We join two together. Next we've got past perfect. Now in past perfect we use this tense whenever we want to talk about completed action in the past before another action. For example, if I say last night I reached home, or last night when I reached home, past simple. Last night when I reached home, my family members had slept. Now my family members had slept is the past in the past. So for past in the past, actually we use past perfect tense. So last night when I reached home, my family members had slept. We use it for an event in the past that happened before another event in the past. We use past perfect tense for an event in the past that happened before an event in the past. For example, when I reached the railway station, the train had left. When I reached the airport, the flight had landed. When I reached Canada, everybody had come to receive me. Okay, very soon you will be in Canada, Australia, New Zealand and all that. Okay, you'll be enjoying there, I know. Okay, let's just go on. We've got some more examples. When I went home last year, comma, I met a school friend I hadn't seen for 10 years. When I went home last year, past simple, comma, I met a school friend, past simple once again, I hadn't seen for 10 years, past perfect. I hadn't seen means I met in the past and I hadn't seen, past event in the past. That's why we use past perfect tense. Let's go on. The next one is present simple. Now by the way, we use past simple whenever we want to talk about past tense. We use past simple whenever we want to write a report. Usually we write reports in the past tense, so that's why it's important. Okay, next is present simple. We use present simple to describe the facts that are always true. For example, a fact that is always true is water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Now this is a fact that is always true. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So for this we use present simple tense. We also use present simple tense for schedules. For example, the bus only operates on weekends. The bus only operates because bus is singular on weekends. This is schedule. So we use present simple for facts that are always true and for schedules, and we use it for habits as well. For example, Joe and Dawn eat breakfast at 7 a.m. every day. This is their habit, or this can be schedule also. Joe and Dawn eat breakfast at 7. Now Joe and Dawn, they are plural, that's why we are saying eat. If it could be only Joe, then we could say Joe eats breakfast. So Joe and Dawn eat breakfast at 7 a.m. every day. Is that clear? Okay. Now let's go on. The next one is present continuous tense. We use present continuous tense to talk about actions or to talk about things which are happening at present time. For example, now you are watching this video. You are looking at me. Smile. You are smiling. Laugh. Laugh, come on. You are laughing. This is what we call present continuous tense, okay? Or think about something, then I say you are thinking. This is present continuous tense and we use it for an action in progress in present, okay? Or we use it to describe change. Now let's see an action which is in progress. I think I'll go now because I am not feeling well. I am not feeling well is an action in progress. If I say I'm having a headache, I am having a headache, action in progress means right now something is happening, something is going on, right? Okay, now we are going to see how to describe change. The cost of living is increasing all across the Western world. By the way, the cost of living is also increasing all across the Eastern world. Like we live in Asia, so in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, here also the cost of living is increasing, and now I've got students in Africa. So you tell me if the cost of living is increasing there as well. So this is present continuous. We use it for an action in progress and we use it to describe change. Don't forget, make your own notes. Please make your notes and those notes will help you. Present perfect. We use present perfect when we want to talk about general experience. If there is any general experience you've had and you want to talk about that, for that you will use present perfect. Present perfect means have, has plus third form of the verb. John has studied English for 12 years. John has studied English. It's a completed action. John has studied English for 10 years. Now, for example, if I say, I have made more than 1,000 videos for you. I have made more than 1,000 videos for you. It's a completed action. I'm talking about general experience or something that I have done, I have completed. Next, we use it to describe a very recent event. Very recent event is like I have had coffee before this video. I have had coffee recently. I have visited Gloria Jean's recently, or I have visited Gloria Jean's lately. That is what? Describing a very recent event. For example, the price of petrol has risen. The price of petrol has risen or rise, rose. You can use that as well. The price of petrol has risen over the last week. Okay. Let's go on. The next one is actually future tense, and we are going to make some sentences with future simple. Now let's talk about future simple. We use it for an immediate decision at the time of speaking. You are speaking and you take an immediate decision. I'll drink some water. Decision. I'll talk to you, or I'll call him, or I'll drink some coffee, or I'll go there tomorrow. This is an immediate decision. So whenever you take an immediate decision, whenever you want to talk about anything which you will do in the future, for that you're going to use future simple tense. For example, I'm cold. I'll get you a sweater. You say I'm cold, and I say I'll get you a sweater. You say I'm hungry. I'll get you a sandwich. You say I'm thirsty. I'll get you a juice. I'll get you a juice is a decision. Sometimes you say I'll help you. My name is Asad Yaqub and I'll help you with IELTS. This was the decision I made around 4-5 years ago, and since then I started making videos on IELTS, and you can see the result at present. Anyways, let's go on. We can also make future with going to. Now you need to give a variety to the examiner. For future, sometimes you can use will, sometimes you can use would, and sometimes you can use going to. Now, the second use of going to, we also use it to predict an event based on evidence now. You see the evidence, on the basis of that, you're going to predict an event that is going to take place in the future. For that, you can use going to as well. Now, for example, you go outside and you see black clouds. You can say, look at those clouds. It's going to rain soon. Look at those clouds, comma, it's going to rain soon. So this is what? This is to predict an event based on evidence now. So how is my workshop going, huh? If you are bored, pause the video for some time and get a drink or get a tea or coffee and comment as well. tell me how this video, this workshop is going. Still it's not finished. Now I'm going to teach you about punctuation. We are learning grammatical range and accuracy. So punctuation is related to accuracy and of course grammatical range as well. Developing range and accuracy. Now we will talk about punctuation. Some of the most basic aspects of punctuation, such as starting a sentence with a capital letter and finishing it with a full stop. Everybody knows that when we start a sentence, we start with capital letter. When we finish a sentence, we finish it with a full stop, but you need to learn more than that as well. These things are pretty straightforward and easy to remember. However, other punctuation uses are less obvious and require some skill. And I would suggest if you read English or whenever you read English, you must observe punctuation marks carefully and see why there is comma, why there is colon, why there is semicolon, why there is an apostrophe and all that. So anyways, here is a guide to help you better understand when and how to use punctuation marks on your IELTS writing test. First, capital letters. I'm going to tell you some rules of capital letters. Use capital letters when starting a new sentence. For example, this is because the elderly, this T capital. This is because the elderly population has played a very important role in our society and they are the reason for our existence. We join two clauses together. They are the reason for our existence, and this is a compound sentence because both clauses are independent. They is referring to actually what we said before. Okay, number two, when using proper nouns and acronyms like UK, USA, right? You got to use capital letter, and when you are using proper nouns, the first letter must be capital. Developed countries such as the UK, U and K both are capital, and the US, U and S are capital, play a key role in the direction the world's economy takes. Right? Is that clear? Alright. Now we are going to learn some general rules of comma or the use of comma. Comma is another important punctuation mark. Don't put a comma everywhere, okay? Alright, so use a comma. Number one, when separating items on a list. There is a list like you say hotels, restaurants, beaches, and then you can use actually comma over there between hotels, comma, restaurants, and whatever you want to say, subways or something like that. So when separating items on list, you can use comma. Elderly people teach us values, comma, traditions, and when you use and, then you don't write comma. Values, comma, traditions, and how to deal with life experiences, full stop. Clear? Okay, let's go on. Number two, before a coordinating conjunction, I told you this before when I was teaching you coordinating conjunction. So before a coordinating conjunction and, but, or, so, for, yet, if you remember fanboys, so you can that links to independent clauses. It actually links to independent sentences. Okay, now I give you an example. Scientists have been warning us about the effect of climate change for years, comma. Yet, from fanboys, yet many people have chosen not to listen. Again, scientists have been warning us about the effect of climate change for years, comma. Yet many people have chosen not to listen. Next, number three. After an introductory phrase including linking words or discourse markers and dependent clauses, again we use comma. In my opinion, comma. On the contrary, comma. On the other hand, comma. In addition, comma. So actually after an introductory phrase, this is the introductory phrase actually, that's what we call linking word, discourse marker, and dependent clauses. Like it can be firstly First of all, comma, firstly, comma, secondly, comma, like that. In my opinion, comma, parents are responsible for teaching their children values like kindness and compassion. Let's go on. In conditional clauses, when the if clause comes first. So in conditional clauses, when the if clause comes first, again we use comma. For example, if all supermarkets charged a fee for the use of plastic bags, comma, more people would be encouraged to bring their own reusable bags when shopping, full stop. Clear? Okay, that's right. The fifth rule of comma is when providing additional information about a concept, there is a comma here as well. To separate essential and non-essential information, again you use comma. To separate essential information from non-essential information, you use comma. Let me give you an example. The graph shows the amount of time that school children, comma, who are between the age of 6 and 12, comma. Now this is something which is non-essential. Spend on different home activities. So actually the sentence is, the graph shows the amount of time that school children spend on different home activities. In the middle we've got something which is not that essential, so we've used comma before and comma after. So it is, the graph shows the amount of time that school children, comma, who are between ages of 6 and 12, comma, spend on different home activities. Is that clear? Okay, lovely. Now next is semicolon. Semicolon is a dot and a comma down there. Use a semicolon to join two independent clauses that share the same main idea. Two independent clauses means two independent parts of sentence, and they are actually sharing the same main idea. I tell you, immigration isn't a black and white issue. Immigration isn't a black and white issue, semicolon. It's actually much more complicated. It means immigration. It's actually much more complicated than most people think. So what did we do here? We joined two independent clauses that share the same main idea. So here, instead of comma, we will use colon. Immigration isn't a black and white issue, colon, a semicolon. It's actually much more complicated than most people think. Next, we use semicolon in a list to separate objects that also have commas. If you want to separate the objects that also have commas, so for that again we use semicolon. Now watch this sentence carefully. The cities mentioned in the study include Paris, France, semicolon, because Paris and France, they are together. Paris is the capital of France, semicolon. Athens, Greece, Athens, comma, Greece, again semicolon because we have to separate them. And Berlin, comma, Germany, full stop. So now there we don't need to write any semicolon. I repeat this sentence. The cities mentioned in the study include Paris, comma, France, semicolon, Athens, comma, Greece, semicolon, and Berlin, comma, Germany, full stop. Clear? Okay, that's lovely. I mean, I'm just giving you the shortcut or the shortest way to learn punctuation marks. Next is colon. My voice is going down whenever there is a cut in the video, means I coughed. So I just deleted all the cuts from the video. So whenever there is a cut, it means I coughed. Anyways, use a colon to introduce a list of items. We use colon and after two dots actually, and then there is a list of items. For example, the process of making plastic products can be divided into three main stages, colon, two dots, colon. Now we will talk about those three stages. Three main stages, colon, the production of long molecules from raw materials, comma, the transformation from molecules to mold, and the handling of the finished product. So we use colon to introduce a list of items, and the good example is the process of making plastic products can be divided into three main stages, and then there is a colon. Number two, We use colon to separate two independent clauses when the second clause explains or illustrates the first one. When second clause explains or illustrates the first clause, again we are going to use colon. For example, when faced with difficult situations, comma, people always have two choices, colon, run away or fight, full stop. Okay, a good sentence, there are commas, there are full stops, there are colons. Let me tell you again. When faced with difficult situations, comma, people always have two choices, colon, run away or fight. Clear? Okay, so this is the use of colon. Now, the next one is brackets. Use brackets when including information that is not essential. Especially in report writing, there are few things which are not essential, so you can write them in brackets. The graphs below compare the average monthly earnings of male and female graduates in 3 different countries. Now the names of countries, they are not essential, you can put them in brackets. Bracket open, Egypt, comma, Brazil and New Zealand, bracket closed. Clear? In report writing you can use brackets. Try to avoid them in essay writing, but in report writing you can use the brackets. Okay, let's go on. There are other punctuation marks that you are less likely to use on your IELTS, but that are also very important for your everyday writing. Interrogation mark, you know that, question mark we call it, used when asking a direct question. Exclamation mark used when expressing strong emotions such as surprise or excitement, so you don't need to use this in your IELTS. Quotation marks used when including someone else's words in your writing. Especially in your essay writing, if you are writing a quotation, then you can use quotation marks. Otherwise, these 3 marks are not very common in IELTS. Keep in mind that one of the most effective ways to improve your use of punctuation is through reading. I told you before, read English, and if you see a colon, a semicolon, a full stop, a comma, right, a bracket, you need to see why it is here and how they are using it. That's the best way. Then the rules of punctuation will be downloaded, will be actually downloaded to your subconscious mind, and automatically you will use them as you speak your mother tongue, and you always speak it correctly. In the same way, punctuation marks, the rules will come over here through reading, and then you'll be able to use them properly. So this is the best way. Every time you read, pay attention to how punctuation is being used, especially when the writer is using punctuation you are less familiar with. The more you do this, the better able you will be to recognize and adopt appropriate uses of punctuation for your IELTS. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for attending this IELTS workshop. I'm thankful to you, and believe me, if you follow just these things, these are the things, because of that you are never getting good bands. Now many of you are complaining that in writing I am not getting more than 6. Some have tried more than twice, more than thrice, and still they are not getting their required bands in IELTS, and the reason is same, they are not following these things. So you need to learn a simple sentence, a compound sentence, a complex sentence, then you need to learn these punctuation marks. Grammatical range means compound sentence, simple sentence and complex sentence. Accuracy means correct sentences through punctuation and through tenses and all that. Once you are going to learn all these things, your letters, reports and your essays are going to be fantastic or fantabulous. If you like this video, hit on the like button and don't forget to subscribe my channel. I have another channel, Asad Yaqub Vlogs. You should subscribe that channel as well. Apart from this, I teach IELTS online, and I've got many online IELTS students. If you want to join my online IELTS classes, you can contact me for that. Asad Yaqub wishes you all the best, and Asad Yaqub wishes you a fantastic band score in IELTS. Take good care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz.